that means that it's coming to service about 100 years before the Industrial Revolution. So when I talk about this thing, I'm talking about a piece of firearms technology that is particularly brutal, savage, and unsophisticated in terms of what you would think of for firearms today. And I'm going to kind of make a comparison throughout this presentation. Now, has anybody here ever used a Bunsen burner in like in high school in science class? Yeah, a few people. Okay, what do you use to get it lit? What's that?
Sparker.
Sparker. Okay, how does a sparker work?
Flint.
Metal rubs on. It's not metal. Something else I'm looking for. Flint. Yeah, 100%. Stock, which is the frame that holds it together, and the barrel, which is the tube that's going to guide the projectile towards the target. So you've heard that phrase before, lock, stock, and barrel. This is what I'm referring to. Now, when I say that it's a flintlock musket, I mean that in the actual firing mechanism, there is a flint. This is poured stones. Flick open the frizzen, and then pull out one of my cartridges. Okay, I'm going to bite off the top. Hopefully not eating any gunpowder like I've been doing all day. And then I close it. Cast about, pour the remainder down the barrel. Draw the ramrod, throw it down. Turn the ramrod, and then bring it back up to my shoulder. And then get the instruction to make ready, and then present, and fire. There we go. Okay, it actually went off. This is good. So, why am I so self-satisfied? They have a tendency to misfire quite a bit. We actually keep a tally in the summertime where it says this many days under this fire. It rarely gets above 0, all right, because of these things. And it's because they're going to misfire something like 1 every 7, 1 every 8 times. Why is this? Is it because I'm lousy at operating it? No, it's because there are design flaws. So, number one is going to be the flint. So the flint, every time it strikes against that piece of metal, it's going to get more and more dull. And the duller it gets, the less spark it produces, the less spark it produces, the less fire goes into the pan, and the less likely that gunpowder is going to catch fire. So, as it gets dull, I have 2 options. One, I can do what's called napping. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tap it until it becomes sharp again. If you think about like tapping a flint arrowhead, similar principles, you're going to make it sharp again. You ever heard that phrase, don't get caught napping? It's talking about not having your weapon in a state of readiness while the other guy is shooting at you, not sleeping on the job. The other thing is that I can just swap it out and put a new one in, because eventually all the napping I do, I'm going to end up with a round rock, all right? That's not going to produce anything for me. Another problem is the material that the musket is made out of. It's made out of steel. Why is that a problem? Because it's not stainless steel. It hasn't been invented yet. These things rust like crazy. I will probably clean this not too long after doing this demonstration, cover it in oil, and when I show up tomorrow morning to do this all over again, it's going to be covered in rust. All right, because these things just decay like that, like crazy. So it takes a lot of effort to keep it nice and lubed up and functional. Another problem is going to be the ammunition itself. So, number one, when it fires, it leaves behind a residue called cordite, quite a bit of it. So you see I just rub my finger on the bottom of it, you can see the amount of gun from 1 round that I have on there. That is going to clog up the touch hole, the flint, and even the barrel, and make it harder and harder to shove musket balls down there. And another problem with the ammunition is that it is hydroscopic. So the chemical composition of gunpowder is sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal. Sulfur and saltpeter are very salty, charcoal is very absorbent, so it wants to attract a lot of water and then hold on to it. The problem with that is that once it gets wet, it renders it inert. So if I just reach in my bag here for a second, you can see this black granulated stuff? That is what black powder looks like, all right? It looks like black salt. It does not taste like black salt. It tastes like things I can't say out loud in a public spot. But I put a little bit of water on it. You can see it turns to slime really fast, right? So you have to keep it dry all the time. Probably heard that phrase, keep your powder dry. It means keeping a state of readiness. Now, the other thing too is that it will actually suck moisture out of the atmosphere. So if I take this out on a hot, humid day or on a foggy day, there's a possibility that this thing won't fire because it's going to collect moisture in a way that's going to make it impossible to fire that ammunition. Now, you've just seen me do this by the numbers, right? Where I'm walking you through step by step. This is obviously not how I'm going to do it in combat. Does anybody have an idea of how long it should take me to load this musket in like battlefield conditions? Yeah, you got a guess? What's that? 20 seconds is a right-on guess. Listen, I have had mutants telling me all day it's going to take me like 5 minutes after I clearly just did it in 30 seconds, walking through it step by step. So good on you, lad. I should be able to get 3 to 4 rounds off in a minute, no problem. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. I'm going to do a little bit more at speed, like I was under pressure, and then I'm going to talk about some of the limitations the musket has, apart from not being able to fire every time.
Heads up.
How long was that?
10 seconds.
I don't think you guys were counting. I'm checking for audience participation. All right, but will it fire? This is the real question. Because if I load as fast as I want, I still have to go back. It did. All right, good for me. Okay, so in addition to it being a problem that's not necessarily going to fire every time I pull the trigger, I have the problem that it's also not necessarily going to hit the target every time it fires. So if I'm shooting at a man-sized object above where that tree is away, it means I'm going to hit that target maybe 50% of the time, which is not very much, all right? If I go farther than that, let's say I go to 300 yards, I'm probably down to hitting something like 1 out of every 8 times. These are not very accurate weapons. Why is this? Well, there's a couple of reasons.
40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 20, 21, 22.
If this doesn't fire, it's all your fault, all right? You guys, you jinxed me. Oh, 3 in a row. Okay, we're having a good day. Notice the size of that cloud of smoke that comes off of 1 round being fired out of this musket. Okay, that's a lot. If I was firing a modern firearm, it's not going to have a puff of smoke like that. They use a chemically different gunpowder. And also, it's not going to have a big fireball coming out the end because they use something called a flash guard that kind of muzzles the visibility of it. So you can't see like somebody firing at night and stuff. Soldiers today also wear something called camouflage, which means that they're going to wear clothing that resembles the environment that they are in. So if I was wearing a modern uniform, using a modern weapon, and I was over the bushes shooting at you, I wouldn't do that. It would take a while for you to figure out where the gunfire is coming from, right? But if I did it with this weapon and wearing this outfit, you're going to tell pretty quickly. You're going to see a puff of smoke, you're going to see a fireball, you're going to see a whole bunch of red, right? Which raises the question, why am I wearing red? Well, there's actually a really odd reason for this, and it has to do with the fact that up until about the 1850s, due to some dietary considerations and genetic factors, most people were actually red-green colorblind in North America until then. This is absolutely false. I made that up. Don't believe that at all. All right, they knew what camouflage was. They know if you put a green thing in front of another green thing, it's going to make it harder to see. They had the same eyeballs you guys did. You're not special. Get over yourselves. All right, the fact of the matter is that I'm wearing red for a reason. So the fact of the matter is, if there's that much cloud on the battlefield from 1 musket, imagine what happens if there's 500 people shooting all at the same time. It's going to make visibility very difficult. If you think about battles going on in Napoleonic Wars around the same time period, you've got tens of thousands of people firing all at the same time, which is going to put a whole carbon atmosphere down on the battlefield. So it makes it difficult to see what's going on. And I want to make sure my soldiers aren't shooting at their own people. So I put them all in the same uniform. They know don't shoot the red guys. And if they see Americans in the blue and gray, my apologies to any Americans here, they know that they're okay to shoot, right? So that makes it easier. At the same time, if I'm a commander on the battlefield, some middle-aged colonel in an era where eyeglasses are a really uncommon thing and telescopes and other visual enablers, it means I need to be able to see what I'm looking at. So it means I can now tell where the battle is happening. And I can actually tell more about myself other than that I'm on Team Red by the uniform that I'm wearing. So as an example, if you look at my hat, the Shako, you can see that I've got a plume at the top of it. And that plume is red and white. That red and white indicates that I am an infantry soldier. So what you think of when you think of a soldier, 1 guy, 1 rifle. If I had a white plume, that would tell you that I'm a grenadier, so I'm a bigger, more elite shock troop. And if it was green, it would tell you that I'm a light infantry soldier, so a more spread out, harassing, agile soldier on the battlefield. And if you saw all 3 of us lined up next to each other from a distance, you would say there is 3 different kinds of soldiers with 3 different kinds of jobs to do on the battlefield. You'd be able to make that distinction right away. And we still use this stuff today. So if you were to go to Ottawa and see the change of the guard at Parliament Hill, it's like the change of the guard at Buckingham Palace, but like lower budget, right? So they wear similar uniforms. They have the red coats and the big bearskin hats. So the Governor General's Foot Guards, their bearskin hat, their plume is red and white because they are a regular line infantry unit. But the Canadian Grenadier Guards, their plume is all white because they're a grenadier unit. Now, in addition to that, even the drill movements that they use to get